What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bare Basic Lawns. Today we are finally getting back into the lawn. It's been several days since I've done anything. Like I was mentioning in my last video, the rain just came and took over again. So I have to really wait for it to dry out because it's still just very saturated. Even so, right now this little patch right on, all of this right here, it's still saturated, so I'm sure the rest of the lawn is okay, but I really don't feel like, getting mud. And, even, you can kind of see along that right over there, it's still very kind of damp. And, I don't really feel like getting in some mud and with the mower and then drag it into the garage and everything, so I wait until it dries out. And luckily that's today. So today we're looking to do our daily shenanigans.
You mean shenanigans? No.
I'm taking over this lawn. We still got some tiger stripe action. I'm gonna start trimming that tree down right now too. Just even look at this. I said in my last video I got 4¼ inches on Tuesday, and here we're at about 1.5 inches of rain. So it probably rained, I don't know, a good 5.5 inches in 4 days. So that's kind of the rain action that we're getting out here, which is a lot. It can get an inch in 30 minutes. It seems like out here. So I'm looking to clean this up a little bit. We will be getting some mow action in today. No really too crazy things going on right now. As far as updates, or let's take a look. Like I still have my flag right here for that, and it's still kind of green right now. Like I mentioned in the video, I'll take that application rate and give it the 21 days like I mentioned in the directions to spray it again. But for now, I'm looking to clean up this tiger stripes like I did in my last video, because it's still, it might have brought up more, I don't know, but the stragglers of what's left over is still here. So make sure to get those up. You don't want to burn your lawn like I mentioned. Let's go ahead and get those cleaned up. So as you can see, after I'm done here cleaning all this up, I am leaving a little bit. I'm not, you can't be perfect. It is what it is. You can't get every single piece of stuff out of the lawn. So, but like as you can see here, let me see like right here, you can see that it's kind of burnt, it's still saturated underneath all that thatch. For best results, always make sure that it is dried out, because it's just so easier to clean up. And, even that it's been a couple of days, it's still just wet underneath. Here's a good piece right here. Let me show you. So like this piece right here, you can see that it's still wet underneath the thatch stripe or whatever you want to call it, and it's still just saturated. That's pretty much it for the back. I didn't really show the, me picking up that last little bit. That's pretty much it for the most part. It seemed like I got most of it the first round. Let's go ahead and check the front. The side, was just that little piece of strip that I showed you. I think after that, it should be good. Then I'm going to move on to cutting the tree up a little bit. So let's go ahead and get that going. All right, guys, there really wasn't much in the front yard here. Maybe a couple, not really worth showing. It's just a couple little, stripes. So that pretty much does it for the most part. I'm gonna go ahead and start trimming this tree down, and then we'll get into some mow action. Because it's been, I want to say, a good week. So I haven't really been out here besides that last video. So I'm really excited for this week. I'm gonna keep this bucket, just for any of the leaves, or maybe even some last little runners, that I found or whatever, that I'll pick up. So, but let's go ahead and get this tree trimmed a little bit, and then it's time for some mow action. man, that is a workout today. I have been productive. I have mowed, edge, blown, trimmed the tree a little bit, uh, dug out a little bit of the tiger stripes, you know, some of that thatch layer that's been building up. But as of now, that's pretty much about it for, you know, as far as an update here. You know, I want to try and get some spray going, but, you know, as of right now, the weather, again, doesn't look too bad. You know, there's chances of rain, and I really need a spray for, you know, the pesticide again. And, you know, maybe I can get in a quick round and, you know, maybe spot treat, you know, just use like a quick little gallon, you know, and just try and get what's in the lawn right now, you know. And I don't know, you know, the weather out here is just tough, you know, because, you know, one, like when I did my last video, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it's not gonna rain for 2 or 3 days, and then, you know, oh, here's a big old thunderstorm, you know. So, you know, who knows. So as of right now, you know, the next 10 days is iffy. So I think I'll play it by ear. You know, luckily they're not building as far as, you know, like a big ant mound, you know, and they're just kind of there for, say, you know, and I can just see them. So I think that's really the only thing I'm gonna try and do this week. I kind of just prepped again for some rain because you know, we're growing now. You know, I thought that it wasn't gonna get as much cut as I thought it was, which is fine. You know, it's still just so compact, and, you know, I will be doing that in about a month here. So come a month, we'll be leveling. We will be core aerating, dropping masonry, sand, doing the whole shebang. So I'm excited. You know, this whole month right now is it's cooking. You know, because we're pretty much hitting the growing season. You know, fully. You know, I'm gonna start laying some good fertilizer here. I'm gonna go talk to my neighbor over here, and, you know, who works at Moon Valley Nurseries, and I like his fertilizer. If you have a Moon Valley nursery and you haven't tried their fertilizer, it's a well-balanced fertilizer. It's a good number as far as the nitrogen, potassium, and calcium. Or man, I just had it again. Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. You know, the NPK. So definitely check that out. I highly recommend it. I used it last year. It was a great fertilizer. I'm gonna definitely get some of that, more of that soil conditioner, because come when I core aerate, I wanna throw that in there and get that in the soil and really break up that clay, you know. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking to do here in the next month or so, you know. So, you know, continue on the herbicide, continue on pesticide, core aerate, level the yard, lay down some great nitrogen, you know, some like 4600, you know, to really push that growth through that sand is what I'm looking for. So that about does it for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I really appreciate it. I know sometimes it's not as fun, you know, but these daily shenanigans,
You mean shenanigans?
kind of days, you know, you just got to get them done, you know, and just get out here in the lawn, and, you know, even though you're not, you know, doing anything to the lawn, you know, whether you're cutting trees or you know, pulling weeds, you know, you name it, you know, the tiger stripes, whatever the case, you know, just make sure you're out there getting it. You know, this is fun for me. I hope it's enjoyable for you. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.
They're basic lawns where the green grass grows, East Texas skies and a gentle breeze blows.